These are the Soft Pastels by Hippie Crafter. Everybody really seems to like the vibrancy of these, so I thought we can go over a few different techniques for using soft pastels and then we'll try them out together. The color variety on here is perfect, especially if you're a beginner. I really appreciate that the company put the cover over this for us because it makes it to where things are going to be less messy. The first technique we could try here is called dusting, and that's where we take just a little bit of the product and we just dust some of it right onto our paper, just like this. Then we can come over here and then we can just basically play around with it. I really like this technique in particular because you can get so creative and literally hands-on while you're doing this. This is the type of technique that I feel like we kind of lost sight of when we grew up. It's definitely something we probably would have done a lot more of when we were kids. Now, because the edge of this is flat, another technique is to go in and just do what's called the flat edge method. So we can come here and go back and forth, just applying pressure down to be able to get the pigment that we want. Of course, we can either leave this as is, or we can go to other mediums to be able to create whatever it is that we're working on. One of my favorite techniques is the wet on dry technique, and that's where we go in and we start to draw whatever it is that we want to create. Everything is going to be dry at first, but we are going to use both the pigment that's applied on our canvas as well as that extra pigment that we see that's being picked up as well. And then we're going to go in just with some water and a paintbrush, and we can just start to kind of create the scene that we're wanting to work on. And it's almost like this turns into a watercolor paint for us. And depending on how much of this you're using is going to dictate the vibrancy. And then when you're pulling the color forward, you'll see that we'll get less of that pigment. We can also create our directional lines by just using the tip of one of these, simply by applying pressure and then letting up pressure when we're getting to the end of our line, just like this. We can use even longer strokes to be able to get feathering when we are creating with these as well. This is art, so art can get messy. Another technique is a side stroke technique, and in order to do this one, we are going to need to take the wrapper completely off of this. Once we do that, we can come here and side swipe in order for us to be able to get this sort of gradient look. We can also just stipple the pigment just by tapping everything from the corner, just like this. And then depending on how much pressure you're applying, you can make these a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. Additionally, it's okay for us to be able to layer these just by adding everything on top of itself, like so. I think it's a lot of fun to be able to see what color combinations we can come up with. Of course, if you have other paints or other markers, you can mix media by using different types of art supplies. So we can just draw something right over the top here. And of course, depending on what you're using, what color background you have, these are definitely great to be able to create some excellent highlights. I think these are so diverse. They are so much fun. I'm really glad the company sent me these ones to try, and hopefully this helps.